We are back on the long form grind, and today I will be taking you through my entire chest workout. I am sorry for the delay on the long form content. I was working on a new program which I just dropped in my community, and it was just easier for me to focus on short form in the meantime. But now that that's out of the way, I want to devote all my mental resources to mastering long form content. So you'll be seeing a lot more long form coming up. As for what I've been doing recently, to catch you all up where we last left off on my previous long form video, I was in preparation for a street lifting meet in Texas. But I'll be uploading that entire series via shorts pretty soon. It should be coming up pretty quick. So I won't spoil anything yet. And if you do want to catch up, really just check out my Instagram. Everything's already on there. But in terms of what I am prepping for now, we have 4 international competitions coming up, and I'm 6 weeks out from my first of the gauntlet. So of these 4 competitions coming up, my first one is in 6 weeks, and that is in Calgary, and that's a WNBF Pro Physique show. A week and a half after that, I have a North American bench press meet. So I'll be benching. I should be around 183, 83 kilos by then. So I'll be like right on the cusp of my weight class, which is kind of perfect. And I want to stay near the heavier end just so I can ensure I bench as much as possible. And then 2 weeks after that, I'm going to Malaysia for the WNBF Galaxy, which is a big international event. The first one that they're ever hosting to date, actually. And I really wanted to experience what the shows are like in Asia, because from what it looks like, they put on a very high quality show. So I would like to experience that and also just have an opportunity to travel and create content while I travel as well. And then my final show will be the WNBF Worlds, which is 2 weeks after that, which is in LA. So yeah, it's going to be a crazy next few weeks, which honestly, I'm very excited about. I was doing this last year between powerlifting nationals and all my bodybuilding shows, and yeah, it wrecked me quite a bit. There was a lot of pressure. But after having gone through it the first time, I'm just a lot more calm this year. I have a better head on my shoulders, being able to draw upon that previous experience. And right now, I'm just coasting. Things are going really well. Training's dialed in. Like, I'm maintaining strength fairly well. Despite my weight loss, I'm down 4 or 5 pounds. So far, I'm pretty lean, which you should be able to see coming up in the workout. And yeah, I'm in really good spirits and I'm really excited, which is a very nice contrast to this point last year because yeah, I was pretty stressed out because at this point last year it was a couple weeks before powerlifting nationals and I was losing weight, very depleted, very stressed. Strength wasn't where it needed to be. I was kind of worried I was going to bomb out, but yeah, not feeling like that this year. So hopefully that can lead to a better performance. And because I'll be a little bit heavier coming into my bodybuilding shows this year, since the bench press meet is kind of forcing me to come in heavier, I'll also have a different look. And maybe being stronger, being a little bigger, will benefit me on the bodybuilding stage as well, rather than just like pushing myself into oblivion for conditioning, which tends to benefit my legs more than it does my upper body. So yeah, a lot of experiments we'll be running. So yeah, let's take you with me to my chest workout. So the plan for today is I'm going to be taking you all through my V3 chest workout. So that's a program I just dropped in my community, and it's a program I've been following the past month. And the plan is to actually walk you all through everything. So I want to like talk into the camera while I work out and give that format a try. Last video, I did a kind of voiceover because it was a little crowded and loud in the gym, but it should be a little quieter. So I think I'll be able to turn the music down and pull that off. So let's drive on over. So today will be the first day I'm benching with kilos. Normally, I like lifting with pound plates because the pounds look cooler, and it's just how I got strong. I trained with pound plates for the majority of my career. But of course, I gotta get used to the kilo plates because they're definitely a different feel when they're in your hands. The weight feels a little bit more dead. I have varying levels of fatigue, so when I program myself, I don't plan on hitting specific numbers on specific days. I wait until I warm up, and determine whether I'll go heavier or lighter, depending on how I feel. If I am feeling recovered, that's definitely a day I want to push. I want to make use of it because I'm not always recovered, nor can I really anticipate when I'm going to be recovered. So if I am, I do want to go for it. I do want to hit a heavy top set. If that can be a PR, some sort of rep range, that's going to be what I'm aiming for. So depending how my bench press top set goes, that will determine how hard I'll be pushing the rest of my workout. If I end up hitting a pretty heavy top set on my bench, that'll likely fatigue the rest of my workout, so I'll dial it down. But in the event that I go a little bit lighter on my bench press, because I'm fatigued, I'll probably go a little bit harder on the following exercises as I'll have a little bit more in the tank. So my program is very variable and fluid. I'm not sticking to I have the same structure, but the intensity with which I bring to each exercise and each set will change. And I think this is how everyone should be working out in the gym. You shouldn't have this exact same hitting 5 reps every single exercise, every single day. You need to be able to adjust based on the feedback you're getting in the gym from your body. And I highly recommend, if you are fully recovered, warm-ups are moving great, you should really go for that. And if there are days where things are not moving as well, those are days you dial it back, maybe focus on technique. There's always something else you can work on to facilitate a very good workout despite not hitting heavy weight. So that'll be my strategy going in today. And yeah, I'm really proud of this recent program that I just dropped in my community because it has the perfect combination of everything I've learned from street lifting, powerlifting, and bodybuilding. And I've just managed to combine them into a program that just facilitates progress across everything. And I've been running it myself this past month to see how it feels, so that when people inside my community are running it, that, you know, they will feel good. I don't want to recommend anything I haven't tried myself. And it's a very hard program. It is the hardest program I've dropped so far. And yeah, I don't want to provide a program that is just like totally unreasonable to follow. Yes, it's hard. There's a lot of volume, a lot of exercises, but it's also backed up by a lot of joint bulletproofing and a lot of exercises that really allowed me to keep my joints healthy over the years. And I do not think you should be pushing hard if you are not putting the equivalent work into your joints, because that's just generally a recipe for disaster. So I'll be able to show everyone a bunch of the exercises I've written to the chest day program. But there are going to be a few exercises, like one you'll see that I haven't provided in the program because not everyone has the same pieces of equipment. But yeah, I do have high hopes today. I really hope, especially because I'm filming this video, I really hope my body has something good in the tank. Last week, I ended up hitting a top set of 420. That moved fairly well. I didn't feel super recovered, so hitting 420 under like less ideal conditions and having it moving well is something I am happy with. But I didn't push too hard on the rest of the workout following in anticipation of hopefully having a good bench press today. But yeah, I have been losing weight very consistently, losing weight at about a pound a week. So currently I am 186 pounds, fluctuating around that range. And hopefully by the end of this month, I'll be closer to 183, which I plan on hovering, maybe even a little bit heavier. We'll see how my physique looks as I go, and that'll allow me to fill out my weight class completely, not worry about a water cut while I'm depleted, which, yeah, might throw things a little bit off. But honestly, I haven't even really been feeling depleted. Since I've been hovering leaner, the relative change isn't that much. Like 5 pounds isn't that much, so I feel very normal, if not like a little bit better for some reason recently. I don't know if that's my workouts being really good, or just really liking the way my physique is shaping up and just, yeah, being more confident this year. Yeah, compared to last year, I had not done a simultaneous powerlifting and bodybuilding prep before. So I had no clue how this was going to go. Of course, I was worried about injuries. I was worried about my strength. And then my strength had taken a hit for the majority of my nationals prep. And that was not leaving me in a position where I was confident going into nationals. But after I deloaded and I was fresh, I put up the same performance at a lighter body weight as I did earlier in the summer. So that's a pretty good indication that my strength is pretty stable as long as I keep the stimulus there. And regardless of how training is, I can expect strength to be similar, even with a weight loss. So it's really just kind of trusting in my training in myself and my body's capacity to recover. And in the meantime, I'll just do my best to push myself hard in the gym. And wherever I end up on the day of competition is wherever I end up. I don't need to stress myself out excessively about it. And I guess what was also adding to the pressure last year was the fact that, this was my first year as an influencer. This is the first year with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of eyes on me as I compete. So obviously you want to do well. You don't want to choke. You don't want to bomb out, because I still got to make that video and report on how I did. So there's still that goal, but there's still that pressure. But having more experience this time around has taken a lot of that off my shoulders. So it feels more fun. And when you can kind of enter that mindset and just not be affected negatively by it, it just completely changes your outcomes in the gym as well. Because I don't know, I've always found I progress the most when I'm having fun, when I have momentum. There are going to be those periods where, you're not going to be having fun, and sometimes you don't really get to choose whether you do or not. But if I can facilitate this mindset more often, it makes the journey more enjoyable, which usually makes the end result not even matter, to be honest, because I was just having fun on prep, right? But yeah, this is definitely a new form of content for me, and I am good live. I'm pretty interactive and stuff, but I'm good at interactions with people who contribute to the conversation, but with a camera that is just there. Yeah, that's something I'm still getting used to. So hopefully I will be able to improve at this as time goes on, and hopefully I'll be able to talk off the top of my head while I work out, which I think I should, but I just haven't done before, right? Like, of all the content I made these past 2 years, I haven't really done like live content where I'm just talking off the top of my head. I usually write the scripts ahead of time, and then I just do the voiceovers after I'm not really interacting. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. Fingers crossed it goes well and it's valuable, entertaining, all the things I would like it to be. I'm actually really excited to get started on this. I've been meaning to want to dedicate more towards YouTube for a while, but there's just a lot of different projects I have going on, and it's hard to do many things at once. So I really need to focus on like a task at a time. And yeah, recently it was just finishing up that program, but now that it's out of the way, I can focus on this YouTube journey. And I only made like a couple videos, but I did really enjoy the process, and I see a lot of different directions I can take long form content as opposed to shorts. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what I can do. So let's see what I can do today. Let's get to it. So I'll be setting up 2 cameras today. I was kind of torn between whether I want to dedicate an entire day towards filming horizontal versus vertical content, but I have my little gimbal here, and I'll just film vertical content with my camera, and I could just film from 2 different angles, and I can really just like bring the 2 together when I edit it. So that just gives me more options. As if a dude with 1 camera wasn't taking up space. I'm a menace. I was hoping this gimbal tripod was a little higher than it was. Just gotta get creative with my angles. This is what I've been shooting on for the past year. Old reliable. So for warm-ups, I recommend these be very individualized. If you have a problem joint or pain that you're working through, you should really focus on that during the warm-ups, and you should do a lot of targeted isolation warm-ups for that joint, or even soft tissue releases, like say your pec or rotator cuff is really sore. Even just like digging into it, finding a barbell, digging into it, that might help relieve a little bit of tension, which might make benching a little bit just more bearable throughout. For myself, I currently have no pain and no joint issues, so I don't really need to add some extra warm-ups in on top. But I do have a ton of warm-ups anyways when I'm working up to something close to 400 pounds. So I usually rely on just my warm-up weights to do the blunt of the work with regards to that. But yeah, I usually jump up in 20, 25 pounds on each side increments and take my time. The closer I get to my top set, the smaller of the jumps I take, because I prefer to be more warm and risk more fatigue than be cold and take a big jump, just from like a joint health perspective. Let's see if this works. Nice. Well, this necklace while benching isn't exactly comfortable.
let's just skip to my top sets. Shirt is off. Tactically, of course, not because I'm trying to show off and I get better engagement and I can see my striations. Not for those reasons at all. We're at 309 for warm-ups now. And I believe everyone should be taking their warm-ups as seriously as their top sets, because this is still practice. Your ability to cue yourself properly, consistently, and unconsciously is going to be what takes your technique to the next level. If you are not thinking about technique and you are just pressing the weight, you are not embedding good motor patterns into your subconscious. So you need to be really aware of that, and warm-ups are a great time to practice that. And to also just get you into the zone. You should be focused. This is something you should take very seriously. You could get hurt on this lift. And this isn't something, you want to take for granted. And your ability to have these unconscious motor patterns, especially when you're grinding under a heavy max, are going to be what makes or breaks the lift for you. So pay attention to those warm-ups. All right, let's try another angle here. This should be okay, but I don't know whether this gimbal will crap out as soon as I bench and if it's actually capturing the bench, so we'll see. But it's definitely more mental effort trying to film from two different angles and thinking of what to say in between and then also focusing on the bench. So my brain is a little bit scrambled right now, but the way I see it, it's all just a skill issue. Just got to develop better systems, so let's do this. 365. Solid. So we're getting close to my top sets. We're at 386 right now, and it's usually around here that I start deciding what I'm going to do for my top set. Things, as you can see, it's moving really well. Things feel good. And these next couple sets will determine what approximately that will be. So I am thinking maybe 425, 430, but if these next two sets move horribly, then definitely not that. 407, big boy weight. So based off how that last one moved, I'm going for a 424 top set today. Wish me luck. Great. Thank you very much. That moved better than I thought. That moved. Very good. Happy with that. Whew. Always nervous, because on a cut, you never really know where your strength is at, so you can just fail what you can normally do randomly. And yeah, it was one of the most discouraging things, but you might fail, not because you're weaker on the cut, maybe you're fatigued, maybe there's other reasons. And yeah, that's something I've really learned after spending so much time cutting on the way to a powerlifting meet, is that I don't need to get in my head about it. I can go in confident, load the weight. If I fail, whatever, data collected. I'll try again when I'm a little bit more recovered, and that will give me a more accurate assessment of where I'm actually at. So I haven't even looked that video over yet. Let me take a look. After looking that over, like, the speed was really good. Indication I definitely have 5-10 pounds more, but I'm gonna stop right there. I'm gonna go straight into a heavy dip today because I haven't really had a good heavy dip session in a while. And seeing as I'm feeling good, I like to see where that is. So on this program, normally it's a bench press top set followed by a dip top set, and right after the dip is a dip variation where I'd accumulate volume, and following that I go back to the bench and do a bench variation. But what I'm going to do, since I'm focusing on bench with a bench meet coming up, is I'm going to do a dip top set, go straight into my bench variation, and then follow it up with ring dips as my dip variation. So just alternating exercise order to emphasize priority, and that's something you definitely want to do if you're going through a competitive phase or there's a specific lift you want to focus on. You definitely don't want to do the lift you're focusing on at the end of the workout because you're going to be gassed. And in my case, My dip is actually a pretty big priority for me as well now that I'm competing in street lifting, and now that I've seen how much it benefits my bench. So I definitely want to have some in the tank for my dip, which is why I go straight from top set into dip. So let's start loading this. So I've been alternating the belts I've been using between like a street lifting standard belt, which has a longer chain, and this one, just because I find that the longer chain makes it so much more unstable. This rig is already shaky, I'm already shaky. So I find with the shorter chain, I'm actually more stable and I could just focus on linking reps together like a little bit easier. But I don't want to get too used to this if the competition standard is the other one. So each week I'm just rotating, switching it up. Hips feel a little slow, so I'm not sure whether I'll go heavier, but we'll see. Maybe the set will feel a little bit better. 4 plates up next. That felt a lot better. Let's go up to 5. So this 5 plate set should determine what I'm doing for my top set. It may be my top set, but I'm thinking I'll do one more jump after it, and if it feels good, it moves fast, I'll throw a lot more weight on. Not bad. Let's look it over. So I'm going to add an extra 10 pounds, which brings my weighted dip up to 422 pounds, including my body weight, which is the same amount of weight as my bench press. So let's find out if my bench and my dip are 1-to-1 today. Lock in. I haven't done more than 5 plates on my dip since I started my cut. Had to get the second for the video. All right, after that grind, let's get back on the bench and let's do a variation. Okay, switching cameras to my nice camera, so you should notice the image quality improve and save some energy from needing to click record on 2 different cameras. I'm pretty gassed right now, not gonna lie. But up next, we have a bench variation. So you want to utilize bench variations to emphasize a different aspect of your bench press. So on my program, every week, I'm doing a different bench variation. So last week, I did an eccentric tempo bench. The week before that, I did a 2-stop bench where I stopped halfway. Today, I'm actually just going to do some touch and go volume and an RPE 8 or 9. So what this means is I should be leaving 1 or 2 reps in the tank on my very last rep. I'm gonna do this with 2 reds, which is 265, and have no idea how fatigued I am after grinding that dip, but let's find out. Trying to make each rep identical, robotic almost. Really focusing on hitting the same touch point, following the same bar path, making sure all of my cues are firing, my lat engagement, that I'm engaging my legs, that there's tension going through my body. Completely focused on every rep. I'm not just pressing it, I'm focused and tired. I'm tired. I'd rather go home after this set, but I still have work to do. Not even halfway, I have a few more exercises still. And what I feel has no bearing on whether I am going to execute on my workout. and the things I need to do in order to progress. I don't like letting myself off the hook. I'd rather push through, modify things if I need it, but see things through all the way to completion. So let's get this final set. Whew, let's go. Something I've always found super interesting is I could probably step on a bodybuilding stage right now, place pretty decently, eating less than 2,000 calories every day. But yet, I still have a lot of energy to get through my day. I'll get through a 3-hour workout, weights as heavy as you saw there. And I could still get home after that and after working on a video for 4 or 5 hours and still get work done at the end of the day. So it's, if I'm not eating calories, where is my fuel coming from? And that's something that that's something that's always kind of confused me. We tend to assume that the amount of calories we eat equates the energy we have throughout the day. But what I tend to observe is the more people eat, the slower they are, the more fatigued they are. And the things don't quite add up. Then you have me over here photosynthesizing energy, and I'm still getting stuff done. I'm still in good spirits. So it's interesting to assess whether it's the calories which provides us the energy, or is it other variables that we're not quite considering? But I mean, the way I see it is that there needs to be a demand on your day for energy. Your body needs to have a physical requirement so that it has something it needs to meet. Since my days are pretty jam-packed of things which require a lot of energy, whether it's creative energy, heavy workout, like learning, facilitating something new, I guess my body has gotten used to needing to meet this demand, so it continues to provide me energy even during periods of depletion, like right now. We often think, I want to wait until I have energy to take action. But it's the taking action that gives you the energy. All right, probably going for an RPE, similar to the last exercise, RPE 8 or 9, 1 rep in the tank here. Not going super crazy, and if it's easy, I'll add some weight. Clearly easy. Let's add some weight. There are points, don't get me wrong, there are points where you need to listen to your body. But there's a lot of points where you can just push through it and overcome it and realize that you aren't as tired as you think. It's kind of when you start identifying with the tiredness that you tend to slow down. Oh, I'm tired. And then you act on it. Oh, I need a break. And then you lay there. But I often find, even when it comes to, say, work and productivity in the evening, it's just that initial start that I need. I just need to get started on the project that I'm working on. And then all of a sudden the energy comes to me. But we just like get to that activation level. And yeah, we just don't have the energy to kind of push through that initial kind of jump start that we need to get started. Ring dips are definitely one of my favorite chest exercises because once you learn how to kind of lean forward and get your pecs to take the majority of the weight, yeah, there isn't a sensation quite like it. Between that and the next exercise I'm about to do, actually. If you're wondering how I don't get injured, this is one of the reasons. And this is another one of the reasons. I'm very strong off instability, and I expose my joints to a stimulus which requires it to need to be strong from all dimensions. A lot of people are afraid of movements like this, and it's to their own detriment, because if the body's only adapted to a singular plane of movement and it's only used to machines, all it takes is a little bit of instability to introduce something it isn't used to. I'm happy with one top set there. Let's move on to the rest of the exercises. onto our Ancestral Press next. And while it looks like a meme, it is actually a very useful exercise. Let me walk you through it. It's 100 pounds. It's not light. So I really like pressing this stone here because it forces me to adduct my shoulders at the same time. So in like a fly motion. And while I do that, my pecs completely light up. So they're active, there's constant tension on them while I'm also pressing, and my heart's starting to beat because I have a freaking stone above me, and my body registers that I might smash myself or something. So that combination leads to a very nice pump, as you will see shortly. But yeah, I'm a trained professional. Don't do this at home. Between this and ring dips, best pump. Am I a strongman now? All right, we have a cable press up next. My cable presses are kind of a mix of both a fly and a press at the same time, set up at the highest setting. And so you'll notice that I end up finishing my chest workout on a lot of bodybuilder movements because utilizing volume to build muscle is something everyone should be doing, regardless of whether you're a powerlifter or a bodybuilder. The bigger your muscle is, the more force it can apply to heavier weight. So that isn't something you want to skip out on just because you're a powerlifter either. Definitely going for the higher rep ranges here. Actually, you know what? In my program, I wrote that they're a drop set. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a little bit heavier, go until failure, drop it a couple stacks, go until failure, drop it a couple stacks, and just going to completely deplete my pecs. I'm not too worried by the fatigue I'll induce from something like a fly like this. Not super heavy. So I'm totally fine pushing all the way to failure on these. And since I have one chest day right now every 8 days, I want to utilize that extended recovery period by pushing hard. I don't have another press workout to really worry about. Well, technically until my arm workout, where I'm doing a close grip, but it's not quite as important as this workout here. But there will be exercises I do kind of dial it back on. Ring dips was an example. If I did multiple sets with 2 plates, that fatigue might get a little more neurological, which might kind of carry over a little bit more. But I tend to push higher on these volume sets, and I don't really experience that same neurological fatigue. So I have done a lot of these burnout sets, especially my first 5 years of training, because I just wasn't worried about fatigue at that point. Nor was I as strong that my fatigue would potentially bleed into the next week. So I just really, at the end of each workout, I really just push as hard as I could to completely debilitate my pecs. And what that did was it built a solid foundation of even just workload that it could handle. And it also built my pecs quite a bit. And I've kind of lost touch with that recently. So I've been trying to add it back in. And honestly, things have been feeling a lot better since. It's also just nice burning out on a smooth exercise like this at the end. All right, on my last couple exercises, I always finish up on a stretch. So this exercise here is a little invention of mine. I call them lengthened partial Lengthen partial rotating pec flies. I think it'll be pretty self-explanatory once you see me do them. So what am I doing here? I'm essentially stretching the pecs into a max stretch, and I'm also strengthening them in this position with those small pulse reps, and I'm using the momentum of the dumbbell to pull me open a little bit deeper on each rep. And as I rotate up and down, I'm stretching a different portion of my pecs. So I'm trying to expose my pecs to as much of a stretch stimulus as possible while also acting to strengthen it. So it kills during, but afterwards, it's a very nice stretch. So I categorize these exercises as C exercises since I have an ABC structure in my program. And these C exercises will always be done at the end, and their intention is essentially to like stretch us out and bulletproof each joint. So I have a set of C exercises for every single day I have, and in combination with my heavy, unstable work, this is what keeps my joints healthy. So now we're on to our final exercise, which is also kind of a C exercise because we'll be using a kettlebell to get some increased depth on our push-up, which will be the final exercise to get both a stretch and just burn out whatever I have left. And as you can see, this is how dynamically I train my pecs. They're getting full range of motion. They're getting a stability component. Obviously, they got the heavy weight at the start. And I think if you want to progress to this level, this is going to be what you need to do. These are the considerations I've needed to make to ensure I not only get strong, but I can continue to do this in a healthy manner. A lot of people might build up the strength, but then end up injured every couple months because their training isn't as dynamic. So you really want to pay attention to these things and ensure you're not only stretching your pecs with movements, but you're also strengthening them in those lengthened positions, because stretching alone is hardly sufficient. All right, the finale. At this point, you should hopefully not have much energy left. Feels good though. And the workout is complete, as you can tell. Very, very productive session. Really good pump. Leave the workout feeling refreshed. I had that mid workout energy dip, but as soon as I got that pump work in, got a little bit of a stretch in, endorphins started flowing, like I'm in a great mood and I'm energized. So just because you don't have energy halfway through the workout doesn't mean you're going to end on that note either. So some post-workout reflections. Yeah, very happy with that overall. Hit a bench that moved very well, even despite losing 5 pounds this last little bit. Definitely pushed on that dip, trying to impress all of you. Did it work? And yeah, followed that up with great set of ring dips. Yeah, very happy with everything overall. And it's these workouts that leave me the most fulfilled. I had something heavy. I was able to bulletproof. I walked out of the gym like tired and fatigued, especially from all the filming. This is my first time actually interacting with a camera throughout the entire workout. And man, yeah, this is harder than you think, but doing hard things tends to do the opposite of what you think it's going to do to you. It's going to energize you, at least some of the time. And I definitely feel energized by doing the hard thing and just recording myself this first half of the day. So I don't even know how long that was. It might have been 3 or 4 hours. I need to look back at the video footage to see how early I had started filming. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this new format. If you like it, let me know in the comments below. And this can be something I continue to do potentially. If it does well and people like it, yeah, happy to
happy to make content like this. And if you'd like to train exactly like me with my entire protocol that has full descriptions, voiceovers for every single exercise, and then access to me while you run it, definitely check out my community. I can't recommend it more.